Hello YouTube and welcome to the comic book channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing a new comic book from this past Wednesday, the last Wednesday of June. And if this is your first time here, if you like the content that you're seeing, please make sure you subscribe, leave a thumbs up, and definitely leave a comment letting me know how you felt about my review and what you felt about the comic book that I'm reviewing. So that brings us to the comic book, which is Dark Horse's Bedtime Games #1. This is #1 of a 4-part miniseries, and it's a horror title. So at first glance, we'll just go with the cover here. It's a really nice cover. Really like it a lot. It's a visually striking cover, and it definitely, makes me wonder what's going on the inside. So just at a first guess, I would assume that this is a horror anthology, but it's not quite that, or at least it's not yet. So to go into spoiler territory, I'll kind of recap, what happened in the book, and what it is there's 3 friends who are spending the last day of summer together before they start as seniors, I believe, and they're basically, kind of hanging out like out in the woods. Not really the woods, just kind of outside somewhere, like in an area. There's like a lake and a bridge and stuff like that. They're kind of, just talking. There's a good little bit of dialogue, when all the friends come together to meet and what they're planning on doing it. And what it is one of them has gotten a key to open this door that's like underneath the bridge, that leads to their school or something. I don't know. I didn't quite understand where the door was supposed to lead them to. I think that they said to the school, maybe. But yeah, they just kind of talk about that. Then it starts going into some of their backstories. And here's where it started to really fall flat. Just crammed a lot of their backstory in. It's good to have backstory, definitely, but it's not something, in a first issue that you don't want the whole thing to be that with no action. Now there is a little bit of action here. I just thought the weighing of backstory to action was, very unbalanced. We get a girl, the girl character, the female character. And again, these characters weren't impactful enough for me to even remember any of their names. It's not that I didn't want to care once I broke into the comic and started reading it. It's just that I couldn't. I didn't feel any connection to these characters, even though they had suffered some pretty horrific stuff. And they had it hard, and we can all relate to that and everything. But to me, they just weren't. I don't know, something about them wasn't relatable and realistic. But we have a girl who used to work in a bookstore with her mom. The bookstore got robbed, and the girl tried to intervene to save her mom, and then at the last minute her mom was killed. She had to deal with that. Now she's living with her aunt. She was in California, now she's wherever this book takes place. And her aunt is very mean to her. She gets drunk and says really mean stuff to her and all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of her backstory. Then we have another character whose backstory is that his little brother is sick and dying, and has 4 months left to live. It doesn't really say that I can remember what the little boy has. I'm assuming it's supposed to be cancer or something, because that's always what it is. But yeah, he's supposed to, have about 4 months to live, and that's shown, in little flashbacks and stuff like that. But it's not, again, they don't really say what it was or anything that's causing the boy to be sick, other than in one panel you see him, a lot of blood coming from his mouth and stuff like that. And the other guy, God, I don't even know what his backstory is. It could have been in here and I would have no idea, because he was just the least interesting character to me. He had nothing nothing about them was interesting at all. The the girl and the other boy were at least interesting enough for me to remember their backstory, but this guy, I have no clue. Um, he was just a really unlikable character. Really, just there was nothing about him, that interests me at all. Um, so it goes through that. It goes through their backstories, and then it goes through them deciding, they don't want to break into the building, into the door, or whatever, in broad daylight. So they want to come back later at night. So they do. They open up the door and go inside. Um, they kind of find that they're like trapped inside to an extent. Uh, One of them picks up a flyer off the ground, and the girl picks up the flyer off the ground, and it speaks to her, and she gets freaked out, and then she says, "Never mind, don't worry about it. Nothing happened." But of course, she knows that something happened, and the flyer spoke to her. And it says something about bedtime, Mr. Nightmare bedtime game, something like that. Um, and then we cut to the final scene, which is, the boy's little brother who's dying, and his father's spending time with him and putting him to bed and stuff like that. And the boy talks about if he can stop at the moon on his way to heaven and stuff. And the dad, tells him, don't talk like that. You're gonna be here with us. You're not going anywhere. Um, and then of course, the creature from the cover, I suppose, appears in his room, and you can tell that some bad stuff's about to go down. So the story doesn't sound that bad, in retelling it. It just wasn't executed very well. It was just a little boring. Like, there was too much of the backstory, not enough action. I get why, we would push off that reveal to the final couple of panels, or whatever. It's just, you have to be careful in these horror books like this. You have to have some inspiration, other than just kind of like, I read a Stephen King book one time or something. Like, you're not just going to throw three friends in together, who had things happen to them, and expect me to care. You have to build them up a little bit more than that. You have to make them relatable or likable or whatever. And I just didn't feel like they were. I felt like, the characters that's really what made this book fall flat for me, was the characterization of the characters. That's probably redundant. The personalities, the way they were written, these three characters, like, I just didn't like them. I couldn't relate to them, and I didn't understand them. They just felt sort of lifeless and sort of, I don't know, it's almost like if you went online and typed in character templates or something, you would get these three characters, and then you could just kind of fill in the blanks with like their names and where they were from, and what they looked like or whatever. But the concept is not bad at all. It's a very simple horror concept. There's like a boogeyman type of thing. There's like a bad guy, who's gonna make these kids' lives hell. It's a simple concept, just the execution, not quite there. So I would give this one a 4 out of 10. The other downfall it has, for me, the other things that bring me to that rating is the artwork, because the artwork's good. Like, it looks nice. It's good artwork. It just doesn't match the story really. It's a little too soft and a little, I don't want to say dark, because dark does match the story, of course, but I don't know, like, I expect something a little edgier, a little grittier, sketchier. I guess those are words I would use to describe what I expected out of this, and not what I got. I feel like it just needed to be a little brighter in places, and it needed to be a little grittier in places, and it just wasn't. It just has like a too consistent of a style throughout the whole thing, which is of course what you want, is consistency in artwork, but But you do want to have those moments where the artwork can help tell the story aside from the plot and dialogue. And this just doesn't lend itself well to that. Like it's just very like flat all the way through. Um, so those are my thoughts on it. I could definitely see why somebody would really enjoy this book, if you're able to overlook those kind of things, or if that's not what you zero in on. Sorry, and I will say one last thing. The other thing that really brought the points down for me was the little boy being sick. I get it. Kids get sick. That definitely adds some characterization there. That adds some personality to the book. It gives the guy stakes or whatever. Um, but it just we have three more issues to go, so maybe it'll really be worth it, and then that will be okay. But whenever they insert like a sick little kid, it's just I don't know. I'm like, you don't need that shit. Sorry, you don't need that stuff unless it's really earned, unless it's really an important part of the story, unless it's integral to the storyline, and how uninspired this felt. Like I just didn't feel like it would be. But that's definitely jumping the gun on it. Like I don't know if later on in the series there will definitely be a reason for that, other than us just supposed to be feeling bad for the kid who's dealing with that. But either way, there we go. Those are my final thoughts on it. I would love to hear your thoughts on the book, if you read it, what you thought. So please leave those in the comments below and let me know what you thought. Thank you guys so much. See you tomorrow.